Hello, friends, and welcome back again to Electoral Bond Analysis. This is Professor Arvind Prasad. Now we'll start with donor analysis. Now, in this lecture, which is going to be pretty short, we will do an denomination inventory breakdown. That is, bonds of various denominations have been purchased. Now we'll check its inventory. We'll check the data of its inventory, and we'll do a breakdown on that. So let's begin. In the last lecture, I had discussed how do we upload this data, that is the purchased data, the list of donors, from another Excel file. Now let's do some further pre-processing on it. So we go to edit and let's visually see the data. We have serial number, reference, journal date, date of purchase, date of expiry, name of the purchaser, prefix, bond number, denomination, issue branch code, issue teller, and of course the status. Now let's have a look at the status. In status, we have two kinds of status. One is paid and one is expired. We would be not interested in the bonds that have been expired. So let's uncheck the bonds that are expired. The reason is these bonds have not been encashed by any political party. So we are only interested in the paid bonds. That's it. Now, another interesting feature here is that the prefix is an indicator of the face value of the bond. So if the prefix of the bond is TL, then it's a bond which has a face value of 10 lakh. If the prefix of the bond is OL, the face value is 1 lakh. Also, the journal date and the purchase date, they are the same. Journal date is a journal entry and date of purchase is the date on which it was purchased. Now, date of expiry, we wouldn't be interested because all the bonds, these all bonds, though they have a date of expiry, they have been encashed. So there are certain features we wouldn't be interested, right? So taking all that into account, let's do an analysis. So let's do one thing. Now let's go and close it first. Then again, come here, come to these three dots. Go to load to and click on add this data to data model. Ignore all the warnings. There we are. Now let's get back to data. Let's get back to manage data model. A diagram view is much more easy to look at. Now, what are the features we are not interested in? Serial number, reference number, as I said, these are immaterial. So let's select them and hide from client tools. So we do a right click and we get hide from client tools. Then similarly, we go ahead with others. And there we are. Having done that, important, click save. I would always keep doing that, but now I will not remind you after this. So go to pivot table. Rather than going for a pivot table, let's go to a pivot chart. That would get a bit interesting now. And click OK. Now in this pivot chart, as I told you, the one with the cylinder is the query table and one with no cylinder is the table itself, which is the worksheet purchase. Okay. So let's get to the query table. We can go to either of them because both of them are updated, but let's nevertheless go to the query table and take denominations. Fine. And this would make denominations as the x-axis. Now again, let's take denominations and go to values. Now here what we do is we go to value field setting and we click count, right? And let's Now come to this chart. What do we see here? Something very interesting, which every Indian should know. Bond which had a face value of 1,000 rupees, very few bonds have been purchased. But bonds which have a face value of 1 crore, around 11,668 bonds have been purchased. So in total, bonds which have a face value of 1 crore, in total, 11,668 crore worth of bond has been purchased. Okay. Now let's get back to 10 lakh. So you can say now, the count for 10 lakh bonds is 4,557. So can you just imagine this staggering amount? 4,557 zero, that is 45,570 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees bonds have been purchased. Right? Now coming back to 1 lakh. 2,195 lakh. That's the amount of bonds that's purchased. So in our analysis, if you go to see, bonds worth 1,000 and 10,000 have no meaning. Right? But this doesn't give you the entire picture. Let's do a little change. And instead of count, let us go to value field settings and let us go to sum. And in a number format, let's go to currency and let's reduce the zeros to decimal zeros to 0 and click. Now, can you see? The highest value is the bonds of 1 crore. Then the next highest is that of 10 lakh. The conclusion that is very clear here is common people have not invested in electoral bonds. It is corporates which buy bonds and influence the election. Common men have no say. I repeat, common men have no say. We do not invest on parties. In fact, parties give us their agenda, parties give us their philosophy, but we, as common people, are never able to influence any political party because we never contributed to it in the first place. Do you think now parties would be bothered about common men? That's something you really have to give a serious thought. And remember, when parties are buying electoral bonds and giving it, when purchases are buying electoral bonds and giving it to parties, they're not fools. They bet on winning horse. It would be interesting to find that which party got how much and therefore which party is actually a winning horse in the coming elections. Stay tuned. You'll be surprised.